They saw the shore and thought they'd made it. Waves crashed around the schooner Ocean Wave, pounding its hull as it approached the Columbia River's mouth. Behind them, weeks of sailing. Ahead, land, trees, and the faint outline of buildings through the mist. It must have looked like safety. But between the ship and the shore was the Columbia Bar, a place sailors called the Graveyard of the Pacific. In April of 1856, Ocean Wave was nearly done with her voyage from San Francisco to Portland, Oregon. She carried 60 passengers and crew, families hoping to start over, traders, farmers, and a captain named Tibbets who had made the journey many times before. But the river mouth was treacherous. Shoals and shifting sandbars collided with waves from the Pacific, churning the water into chaos. Even experienced navigators often waited offshore for a break in the weather or a river pilot to guide them through. But on April 19th, the sky was thick with clouds and the wind was rising, and the Ocean Wave pressed on. She never made it past the breakers. The schooner struck the bar with a violent crack, its hull snapping against the hidden sandbank. The impact threw passengers to the deck. Children screamed. Crates tumbled from their lashings and slammed into walls. The ship bucked hard, then listed sharply as waves slammed broadside and the keel groaned in protest. Panic swept the deck. Water rushed below at an angle, cold and sudden, flooding quarters and trapping people in darkness. Some tried to climb, others froze where they stood. A mother clutched her child and crawled toward a hatch that wouldn't open. Horses thrashed in their stalls, hooves pounding as the water rose past their knees. Above deck, the wind tore through sails like paper. The mainmast cracked and splintered. A man was crushed as it fell. Another was swept overboard with a single wave, arms flailing once, then gone. Captain Tibbets shouted orders that no one could hear. His voice vanished into the storm. The Ocean Wave began to break apart piece by piece, ripped open by the surf. The lifeboats were useless, dashed against the side before anyone could lower them. Some tried to jump and swim for shore, but the current pulled them sideways, dragging them under, spinning them back toward the wreckage. Others clung to whatever they could, broken planks, overturned barrels, rigging still attached to nothing. They called for help, for God, for their mothers. But no help came. They could see the coastline, trees just beyond the mist, houses, smoke rising from chimneys, but they would never reach it. By mid-morning, the schooner was gone, shattered and swallowed by the sea. Debris washed ashore in silence, and with it, bodies. Word spread fast. Locals and soldiers from Fort Stevens gathered along the sand, searching the tide line. But there were almost no survivors. Of the 60 souls on board, only 3 were found alive, washed ashore hours later, barely breathing. The rest, scattered. Searchers found trunks cracked open like coffins, letters soaked and unreadable, shoes without feet still tied neatly. One man's body washed up with arms outstretched, as if still reaching. A woman was found face down, her skirt torn to ribbons, her hands clutched around something small, too warped by the salt to tell what it had been. A horse washed ashore days later, bloated and half buried in sand. No one kept exact count, but for weeks the sea returned its dead. Newspapers called it a misjudgment, said the captain had entered the bar without a pilot. Others blamed the ship's owners, who pressed crews to save time and fuel. But for the families waiting upriver, none of that mattered. They had seen the sails, watched the ship pass, then watched nothing arrive. And still, something lingered. Fishermen told of a phantom schooner drifting past the bar at dusk. No sound, no sails, just a faint outline against the dying light. It would vanish if anyone tried to follow it, dissolving back into the mist like breath against glass. Some said it was Ocean Wave, still trying to reach the river mouth. still carrying the ones who never made it. The Columbia Bar has claimed thousands. The waters still shift, still deceive, and somewhere beneath the breakers, the wreckage of ocean wave lies scattered beneath layers of sand and silence. They saw the shore and thought they'd made it. Thank you for listening to the Sunken Ledger. Subscribe for more true stories from the depths.